drop it.
Aloha and namaste, y'all. It's the White Magical Tiger, the undercover hippie evangelist. Are sports a false idol in your life? Now, I want to tell y'all a story. First off, the word fan. Are you aware that the word fan comes from the word fanatic? And normally being a fanatic is not a good thing. Now, the personal story of me is I've definitely been a fanatic. I am a fan of the Texas Longhorns. You can tell I got my burnt orange shorts here. And currently, as I film this video, they're playing a football game. They're currently ranked number 1 in the country, and they're playing number 5 Georgia. And unfortunately, as I'm filming this video, they're getting absolutely clobbered, destroyed. And people can get too wrapped up into sports, and their identity can be formed too much to the team that they, in a way, kind of worship. Now, for me, I've definitely been guilty of that. And being a Texas Longhorn fan, we've been humbled over the last 15 years or so. But growing up as a child, my favorite team was always winning. They were the best team in the country consistently. And then around the late 2000s, there was a humbling process. I was at the national championship game in 2009 where the Texas Longhorns played the Alabama Crimson Tide. And the Longhorns were heavily favored to win that game, but in the very beginning, the first 5 minutes, their star quarterback, Colt McCoy, got injured, and he had to sit out for the rest of the game, and unfortunately, the Longhorns lost that game. Now, that next day, after that loss, I felt completely drained, energetically zapped. And what had happened, my best theory, my best guess is that my energy was harvested at that stadium. It was at the Rose Bowl in Southern California. And that next day, after the Longhorns lost in 2009, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I had never felt so empty in my entire life. Now, I've never had anyone close to me die at that time, and so I know it sounds ridiculous that something like a football game would make me feel the worst I've ever felt, but I'm just being honest with you. I was a diehard fanatic, a fan, and my favorite team lost, and I was just distraught that next day. I never felt so empty, but now knowing the things I know about spirituality and about the energetics of life, I feel like I was not protecting my energy, and I felt just destroyed, just empty. It felt like a shell. And I'm making this video as a warning that, is your favorite sports team a false idol for you? Do you think more about your sports team than you think about God? Because what is the most important thing in this life? It's not sports. Now, I love sports. I used to play sports. My favorite sport growing up was rugby, and I love the competitiveness of that and the discipline that comes along with that. And I also played basketball, track, football. Recently, I've been kind of dabbling in some jiu-jitsu, and that's a very humbling process because it doesn't matter how strong you are in jiu-jitsu, because I got more muscle than the average person. I'm not bragging, but in the jiu-jitsu dojo, that doesn't really matter. It comes down to skill set. And something like jiu-jitsu is more of a chess match where you need to know the moves, you need to know the strategies. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how strong you are. Someone half your size can submit you. And that's a very humbling process, even someone of the opposite sex. I've had very talented women tap me in jiu-jitsu, and that's kind of embarrassing that some tiny girl can make me submit. But in those cases, those women had put in a lot of dedication, a lot of work to get that skill set. And that is a very humbling process and a wake-up call to me that it doesn't matter how much muscle I have. There's certain sports that it's a lot about the mental, the strategy, and the practice and the discipline. And then when it comes to observing sports, watching your favorite basketball team, watching your favorite hockey team, watching your favorite baseball team, your favorite football team, your favorite soccer team, your favorite rugby team. So people in our culture, sadly, their lives are so empty that they find a sense of tribalism and identity. They find almost like their personality is attached to these certain teams, these certain modalities. And it's great if we can just realize it's just a game. It's just a sport. And if we're just watching, it's simply just entertainment. And so right now it's a humbling process watching my favorite team just kind of get destroyed on national television right now. But you know what? This isn't the first time it's happened. And I'm grateful that my number one in life is not the Texas Longhorns. My number one in life is God. Jesus Christ says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 33, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Jesus Christ is saying if we're wise, our number one priority in life should be seeking first the kingdom of God. Well, where is the kingdom of God? Well, in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, verse 21, Jesus says, "Behold, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven is within you." It's inside of us. And I've said over and over again in my videos that Jesus Christ taught meditation. He taught going inwards. When he talked about going into your prayer closet, the prayer closet is within here. When he talked about the single eye, Jesus was referring to the single eye right here. When he talked about opening the seals, the 7 seals on the Lamb's Book of Life, he's talking about the 7 seals found in our spine. And to me, that's my number one priority in life, is making sure I get into heaven. Because a lot of people, they make their number one being super successful financially, and that's great. Or super successful at a sport, and that's great as well. Super successful at whatever their craft is, and that's all well and great. And using the gifts that God has given us to excel in those areas. But when we forget to acknowledge God for those gifts and those abilities, and when we put those other things higher than God, for example, what is the number one thing, the number one most important thing to you in your life right now? For a lot of people, they would say accumulating money. And unfortunately, money is a false idol as well, because you can't take it. When you die, you're not taking it into the afterlife. The only thing we can take forward into the afterlife is our spiritual progress. And that's a quote from my teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda. So if we're wise and we really want to invest our time wisely, we invest our time in our spiritual progress. And so I'm simply making this video because I'm an American, and being an American, sports is such a big thing. And people love watching football this time of the year. And if the Texas Longhorns go ahead and lose tonight, I imagine a lot of the fan base will be distraught. They'll be just really let down. They'll be saddened. They'll be angry. They'll be frustrated. All these emotions. And it's because they're too invested in it. And it's like, yeah, it sucks when your favorite team loses, but realize it's just a game. It's just entertainment, especially if we're just watching. It's just entertainment. And it's fun to follow along and everything, but are we going too far and becoming fanatical? And so, like I said, I've been guilty of that. And I'm simply making this video to raise an awareness. And maybe you needed to hear this video. Maybe something else in your life. Maybe it's not sports or money. Maybe it's women. Maybe women have become a false idol in your life where you're just like, I gotta sleep with as many women as possible. That kind of thing. And it's like, that's not gonna make you happy. People are trying to seek happiness in all these different areas, whether it's their career, whether it's through drugs and alcohol and partying, but it's like, that's not the way. And I'm speaking from a place of experience. The real happiness comes from the source of happiness. And what is the source of happiness? It's God. And one of my favorite names for God in Hinduism, in Sanskrit, the ancient language, is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means truth. Chit means consciousness. Ananda means bliss. Essentially what it means is that God is the truth. God is consciousness. God is bliss. So I'll try to make this a short video because sometimes my videos are long, and hopefully you found this video helpful, and just realize that it's cool to appreciate sports and have fun with it, but don't make it the number one thing in your life. Otherwise, it's gonna be a letdown. And say your favorite team does win the championship and all that, and it's like, okay, well after that, then what? Like, you're still just watching a TV. You're not making any money off of it unless you're gambling, and that I do not recommend gambling. A lot of people blow their money on gambling, whether it's a casino or whether it's sports betting, and that's not wise at all. That's not a wise use of the money, and again, you lose a lot of money on that. You feel awful, like it's a horrible feeling, and that's not the best place. It's not the wisest investment. And if it's like $5, sure, throw $5 at it. I don't even do that myself. And so, are sports a false idol in your life? And you look at the Roman Empire, and when the Roman Empire was collapsing, they developed the bread and circuses. I'm sure you've heard of that, the bread and circuses. Go to the Colosseum. Don't look at the downfall of our society, the collapse of our society. Go to the Colosseum and watch Christians be fed to the lions and watch gladiators fight and all that. And that's kind of what sports has become today, where it's just become one giant distraction, where you have these grown men that are just becoming too emotionally invested in their sports team. And it's sadly, it's from a place where we don't have a real sense of tribalism. We don't really have a real sense of God in our culture. We're not tapping into those sources of peace, joy, bliss, calmness, relaxation, clarity. And so hopefully you found this video helpful. I'll probably wrap it up right now. And yeah, may God bless all y'all. Namaste.
God, Krishna, Christ, Guru. God, Krishna, Christ, Guru. God, Krishna, Christ, Guru. God, Krishna, Christ, Guru. I surrender to Thee. I surrender to Thee. I surrender to Thee. I surrender to Thee. God, Krishna, Christ, Guru. God, Krishna, Christ, Guru. God, Krishna, Christ, Guru. God, Krishna, Christ, Guru.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna